So now that we've got our template all in order, we've got everything figured out, I want to show you a couple of quick little tricks. I've added a stroke to this, and I want to show you how to do this. So basically we can use our magic wand tool again. We can select any box, we can select them all by unchecking continuous. We can go to Edit, Stroke, select the color we want to use, the width, where we can click on this word and scroll back and forth, and the location. Do we want it inside, center, or outside? This helps with just the tint scale because then you can see where the white is supposed to be in the transition. So looking at this, we have the HSB in the color window open. H is hue, S stands for saturation, and B is for brightness. Well, the problem is the S is referring to saturation is actually referring to the addition of white. Whereas when we talk about tone in the class and often interchangeably use the term saturation, we're talking about gray. And the next tool I'll show you does that correctly. So this is a key difference to make, and I also identify this in another video which I'll post. So basically we have our tint scale. We have 9 transitional steps. There's 10 steps total, but there's only going to be 9 changes. This will be our first change, and for a total of 9. I'm going to bring up our hue saturation tool. I'm going to go to Control U to shortcut it. You can also find it under Image. And basically here is where, it's very similar to HSB. We have hue, selecting what hue we want. But in this case, saturation is referring to gray. Notice here how it goes to a gray. And if I slide it here, you can see in the color on the first step of the tint that it goes to gray as well. And then the lightness slider deals with our value. So if we go to a positive, we're going to adding white. Negative, we're adding black. So let me cancel that out. So one more time, I'm going to select on my first transition. I'm going to do it this way this time to show you where it's at. Image, adjustments, hue saturation. Now we have our 9 transitional steps. We know that basically to get to white, which is our goal in our tint, is we need to go to a plus 100. So 100 divided by 9 gives us 11.1. And those are going to be our transitional steps. Now how you deal with that 0.1 is up to you. But I typically just add, do a 12th at the end. So I've got my lightness. I'm doing it 11 units, which is giving me my transitional step. And I'm going to hit OK. Now we notice if we switch back to our eyedropper tool, we can see this addition of white in the S value here in HSB. Now you may not notice a clear distinction in the transition yet, but this is going to be an even transition. And doing it this way will ensure that that happens. So we'll go to our next step. Bring up my hue saturation tool again, and this time we're going to put in 22. And now you can start to see this transition take place. It's not as much of a problem of seeing before, where you couldn't maybe tell the difference here, but you're starting to see it here. So basically as you go along, you're going to want to continue this process. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the rest of it. And you'll notice each step is an 11 units increase, keeping the transitions even. There's no problem here. And slowly we begin to see this tint scale take shape. Now this will be the same process for the shades, but except we'll go to a negative number. And we can talk a little bit more about making verification when we start to write our critiques. But for right now, we're focusing on how to create this assignment. And you'll notice that with each of these steps, it's a very even transition. And we're keeping to our transitional steps of 11 for this. Now based on how long your scale is, I think it's a minimum that we have a 10-step scale. You can go longer. If you go to 11, then your transitions only need to be 10. These are things we can talk about a little bit more. But in the end here, we're going to go to one couple more. And we're going to carry this the whole way to white. And I'll just use the slider in the last one. And to check that it's white, we can switch back to our eyedropper tool, and we can see that the S value is 0. At any time when the B value is at 100% and the S value is at 0, regardless of hue, we know we have white. And so that's pretty much that simple. The shades is the reversed. I'll do one quick one, but then you can walk it through yourself. And you can see here, we're going to erase that, add our negative 11. And we slowly get our shades. And that's a little clearer for most of you to see, but follow that same process, having equal transitions, and that's the key to these tints and shades. In the next video, I'll talk about tones.